Hello everyone, Aric Hall with the Blaze of Glory. Well, this travel log is going to take us out to the rock slide, also known as the mountain slide, which dammed up the Madison River, forming Earthquake Lake during the 1959 earthquake. We start with some pictures of the rock slide coming in from the distance from the northeast, driving along U.S. Highway 287, coming in from the direction of the Lake Hebgen Dam. We end up at the Visitor Center parking lot on top of the rock slide at the southwest end of Earthquake Lake. I have given great consideration to the possibility that this rock slide could be the No Place for the Meek, or it could be the Blaze. Granted, it's a very large blaze. Most of the pictures you see here are facing back toward the lake. And I actually went out there twice, walking around the rock slide on the side facing the lake, especially among the trees. Of all of the people who died during the 1959 earthquake, 19 of those people were killed when they were buried by this rock slide. Down below the visitor center, I drove my little car off the highway onto this rock, and places you probably should take a Jeep, but I drove down near the river where the Earthquake Lake drains into the Madison River, going through the rock slide. And these pictures show kind of a progression from the lake looking downstream. While I was out here, there were several times I met some college geology club field trip groups. I used to go on those myself. Certainly the rock slide is a good field trip location. Now, as we just went through these pictures, how many of you even bothered to notice the three grown men? Oh yes, there was. You were so captivated by the rock slide. You probably, if you have not been there, you probably do not grasp the scale of this rock slide. So let's go back and look at the three grown men. Here's picture 1, picture 2, and picture 3. Let's try again. Picture 1, picture 2, and picture 3. Right now I'm standing on the rock slide, the mountain slide. This is the point where the Madison River, emptying Earthquake Lake, the river cuts through the mountain slide. Now here we are in mid to late August, and that water is still quite a torrent. It was substantially more voluminous when I got here at the end of June. Could it be that this is no place for the meek? You wouldn't want to be going through here in a raft or a canoe. You'd be torn up. This set of pictures is taken of the river going through the rock slide, but I'm standing up at a higher vantage point, up beside the highway rather than down close to the water. This would be a nice place to camp, if they would let you, or at least come out and sit in a chair beside your car at night after the traffic dies down, just to listen to the constant sound of those rapids. This river, the rapids cutting through the rock slide. Up on the north side of the rock slide, where the slide actually came to a stop, I took a couple of close-up pictures of some of the rocks and the rock outcroppings that these mountains are made of. They look like schist or shale, something that looks very brittle. It comes as no surprise to me how the earthquake triggered this rock slide. Those rocks are just ready to break free. I also found on the north side there is this gravel dry wash headed up the other side of the valley. There's nothing but loose rock there. I bet it would be exhilarating to try to walk up that rock that's moving underneath your feet. The following pictures are taken from the top of the rock slide, looking out to the west on the lower part of the Madison River as it cuts its way through the rock slide. we're facing to the west-southwest to the area that is commonly called the Flats, the wide open valley that is out past Earthquake Lake. Now, if you're interested in places that have plenty of sage, because that was one of the hints Forrest gave, the Flats has plenty of that. Again, I'm up on the rock slide, looking down on the Madison River as it cuts its way through the lower end of the rock slide, and then goes down to the flats down below. This next picture, I am on the highway parallel to the Madison River, down below the rock slide, looking back up at the rock slide. The rest of these pictures are on the highway, a couple of miles or better to the west of the rock slide, looking at the mountains from a distance. And one of the things that stood out to me as I drove up and down that valley is the mountain that collapsed during the earthquake is the shortest mountain or mountain ridge in that set of mountains. It's 1/2, maybe even 1/3 the height of the other mountains that's adjacent to it. Imagine if one of those large mountains had given way during an earthquake, or even the next earthquake. I've got several pictures here where I have drawn arrows. The red arrows point out to where the visible part of the rock slide is if you're out in the west looking back toward the rock slide. The purple arrows are pointing to this mountain ridge that is the rock slide. Now we're on the opposite side, so you can't see that rock scar. It's on what is now the backside of that mountain ridge. Well, that just about does it for the latest trip to the lower end of Earthquake Lake, the rock slide, and the Madison River. Remember to click like, share, subscribe, and donate.